Audi's S3 is one of the fastest point-to-point performance cars that money can buy. The uninformed will see it merely as a very expensive way of buying an upmarket version of the brand's A3 compact hatch. For enthusiasts, it's a lot more than that. The car that established Audi as a potential driver's brand is still a driver's choice.
The other day, somebody asked me what I thought of Mitsubishi Evos and Subaru Impreza STI models, you know, those boy racer rally replicas. I replied they should go and drive one, they're brilliant. But as to whether they should buy one, well, I couldn't see much point, because a much nicer car existed that was capable of doing 99% of what those rally replicas could do, and was a much more effective ownership proposition. Its name? Audi's S3. The S3 has long been an important car for Audi. It was, after all, until a few years ago, the only really satisfying driver's car the brand made. And the first generation S3 found a huge number of homes in the UK. It was sold between 1996 and 2003, first with 210 and later with 225 brake horsepower under the bonnet. Now here we're looking at the second generation version, which had 265 brake horsepower shoehorned in. And in the facelifted guise we're examining here, it offers S3 buyers two options they've long been seeking. First of all, the alternative of the 5-door Sportback body shape, and secondly, the option of a high-tech semi-automatic gearbox, in this case Audi's clever S-tronic twin clutch system. Now this might be the fastest car in the A3 premium compact hatchback lineup, but it doesn't have the biggest capacity engine. As with the first generation S3, Audi chose to use an uprated version of the impressive 2-litre T FSI turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that you'll find in a Golf GTI, instead of the 3.2-litre V6 that's used at the top of the standard A3 lineup. Not that a Golf GTI or a A3 3.2 V6 would be well advised to take on an S3 in a straight fight. It has considerably more power for a start, 265 brake horsepower, and an even faster reacting quattro four-wheel drive system to maximise stability and traction while distributing torque, around 350 Newton meters of torque between front and rear wheels. If you're worried about this being a glorified Golf GTI, then it isn't only the quattro four-wheel drive system that should persuade you differently. The S3 has a bigger turbine, a revised intercooler, altered camshaft timing, redesigned conrods and pistons, and a stiffer cylinder head. And the results are suitably explosive. Fire the S3 off the line and it reaches 60 in just 5.5 seconds. It reaches 100 in just 13.6 seconds, and onwards to a top speed that's artificially limited to 155 miles an hour. Power is negotiated via a short throw 6-speed gearbox on manual models, via a electronically controlled multi-plate Haldex clutch. The quattro four-wheel drive system directs power to the front wheels in normal motoring, but when it detects slippage, the system will direct torque to whichever axle is best equipped to cope with it. The result is an all-road, all-weather supercar for the real world. By that I mean it's usable by almost anyone every day. Yes, it's stiff, ride height has been reduced by 25mm, but unlike a Mitsubishi Evo or a Impreza STI, it doesn't constantly, wearingly remind you of the fact when you've had a long day, you just want to get home, and the whole of the British road network seems to be infested by infernal speed humps. Yet on a typically wet British B road, it will give the rally replicas more than a run for their money. In fact, it's pretty hard right now to think of many cars at any price that would better this one A to B in those kind of conditions. If I had to criticise, then I'd pick out the slightly vague electro-mechanical steering system, the power steering setup. Nothing wrong with the brakes though, uprated with performance pads, larger discs and black painted calipers bearing the S3 logo. Mindful of the look-at-me showiness of rival Evos and Imprezas, Audi have perhaps understandably erred on the side of subtlety with the exterior of the S3. Were it not for the trademark S-Car aluminium look door mirrors, you could easily mistake it for a standard A3 with some well-chosen S-Line exterior tweaks. Still, such a car would still have real presence, and this one certainly does. The huge and now shapelier front grille and under bumper intake combined with those piercing restyled xenon lights create a formidable rear view mirror factor. There's a menacing stance too, thanks to a 25mm lower ride height and gorgeous 18-inch alloy wheels. The front skirt features spoilers and integrated air intakes, while the side sills give the flanks of the car a more voluptuous appearance and also serve to visually lower it. Twin ovoid tailpipes and a body-coloured roof spoiler garnish the rear end, disguising a surprisingly practical rear that gives you 281 litres of boot space with all the seats in place, rising to 1,011 litres with the split folding rear seat flattened. I'd probably find the extra £500 and go for the 5-door Sportback version that respectively increases those figures to 302 litres and 1,032 litres. Inside, the Audi knocks its Japanese rivals into the middle of next week with a beautiful display of tasteful quality. You've got a choice of dark or silver headlining, there's aluminium trim for the vent surrounds, the gear knob and the pedals. There's the option of piano finish black for the fascia inlays, and S3 emblems adorn almost every conceivable surface, just in case you've forgotten what you bought. You'll be looking at paying around the £28,000 mark for your S3 and around £500 more if you want the 5-door Sportback body style. Now that might sound a lot of money for a hot hatch, but it's less than Mitsubishi will ask of you for an entry-level Evo 10 FQ300 and only £2,000 more than Subaru demands for an Impreza STI. Now true, both of these rivals offer 35 brake horsepower more, but you'd have to balance that against the Audi's higher quality and better residual values. Obvious rivals, apart from Subaru's Impreza STI and Mitsubishi's Evo, really depend on whether you want four-wheel drive. If you don't, then I'd suggest you look at saving yourself around £2,500 and try Ford's excellent Focus RS Cosworth with 305 brake horsepower. If you do, then one alternative might be to save £7,000 and try Subaru's Impreza WRX, but you'd have to put up with around 40 horsepower less and a much cheaper interior feel. Other than that, you'd be looking at something from the premier sector of hot hatchbacks, cars like Volkswagen's Golf GTI or Ford's Focus ST, all with two-wheel drive, all with around 40 to 60 horsepower less, all at a £7,000 to £8,000 saving, but all really from another league. Standard equipment includes this lovely leather trim flat bottom steering wheel that looks like it's come straight from a Lamborghini Gallardo. You also get these beautiful leather trimmed bucket sport seats and a premium Bose infotainment system with universal interfaces for mobile phones and iPods. There's automatic air conditioning and a driver information system with a rather naughty lap timer function. Other equipment runs to 6 airbags, an anti-theft alarm, adaptive dampers, front fog lamps and trendy xenon headlamps with a daytime running function. Unless you thrash it absolutely everywhere, there's no reason why you shouldn't get somewhere close to the quoted 33.2 miles to the gallon combined fuel consumption figure. Emissions are pitched at 198 grams per kilometre of CO2. In terms of residual values, this will probably continue to be one of the most resilient hatchbacks money can buy, holding on to 58% of its value after 3 years with 36,000 miles. Insurance is Group 18. Audi asks quite a sum for this model, but then the S3 is quite a car. Small but very expensively formed. It's doing a disservice to call it a mere hot hatch. It's far more than that. Call it a supercar for the real world.